You've probably laughed at a future millionaire this week. I'm serious. Roughly half the people earning six figures in this country say they're living paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, somewhere in your life, there's a person with a cracked phone screen and a 10-year-old jacket, quietly sitting on more money than everyone mocking them combined. Looking rich and getting rich are two different full-time jobs. Almost nobody works both. 2018, my first real office job, and the guy two desks over, I'll call him Marcus, was the office joke. 43 years old, drove a 2011 Civic where the driver's door didn't match the rest of the car, wore the same 3 polos on rotation, ate leftovers out of an old Costco bag while the rest of us ordered $16 lunch bowls. We had a running bit that the company paid Marcus in exposure. Meanwhile, I was 24, leasing a car I couldn't afford to impress coworkers who were also leasing cars they couldn't afford. We were basically a support group with lanyards. 5 years go by. 2023. Marcus puts in his 2 weeks. On his last day, I ask him what's next, fully expecting another IT job. And this man, who I had never once seen buy anything, pulls out his phone, opens his Fidelity account, and turns the screen toward me. $517,000. He'd never earned more than $68,000 a year in his life. He was moving to Tennessee, buying a duplex in cash, and, his words, working when I feel like working. I went home that night, opened my banking app, saw $1,900 and a lease payment due Friday, and just sat there. Because Marcus hadn't been hiding anything. The signs were sitting 2 desks away for 5 years. I just didn't know how to read them. So I spent months reverse engineering that man. I found 13 signs, and I've been checking people against them ever since, including myself. And the 13th one, the one that actually built that account, never shows up on lists like this, because it isn't really a money habit at all. It'll only make sense at the end. The first 3, though, those you can see from across a parking lot. Sign 1. There's a gap between what they earn and what they show. Notice I didn't say they drive an old car. Plenty of people drive old cars because they're flat broke. The tell is the gap. When someone makes decent money and their lifestyle stays 2 sizes too small for it, that missing money went somewhere. And somewhere is usually an account that compounds. A buddy shoved The Psychology of Money into my hands about a month after Marcus left, and one Morgan Housel idea permanently rearranged my brain, that wealth is literally the stuff you don't see. The car not bought, the upgrade skipped. Marcus's money was invisible because that's what real wealth looks like while it's still being built. Sign 2. They know their numbers cold. Ask someone on the wealth track what they spend in a month, and you'll get an answer in 5 seconds, accurate within $100. Ask anyone else and you get ballpark, $3,000, maybe 4. The test I use on myself now. If I can't say my monthly burn out loud, money is happening to me, not for me. Sign 3. Upgrade immunity. They replace things when they break, not when a keynote tells them to. Their phone is 3 generations old and they feel nothing. Meanwhile, small confession, I once financed an iPhone over 36 months. 36. I was committed to that phone longer than some of my relationships. And look, I might be reading too much into one guy. Some people with old phones and old cars aren't secretly rich. They're just broke, and I'm aware my sample size is basically Marcus. So no, the Civic was never the sign. The gap was the sign. And the reason the gap exists is the way these people do math. That part you can't fake. Sign 4. They price everything per year, not per month. Monthly pricing is anesthesia. $14.99 feels like nothing, until you're holding 9 of those and realize you're paying about $1,600 a year to actually watch 3 of them. Marcus once watched a coworker show off a brand new truck in the parking lot, and all he said very quietly was, "That's a $9,000 a year truck." Nobody laughed. Nobody got it either. I get it now. Payment, insurance, gas, the full annual bill. People headed for wealth hear the yearly number automatically, the way you hear your own name across a loud room. Sign 5. Impulse immunity. The rule I run, and push on every friend who asks, is that anything over $100 sits in the cart for 72 hours before I'm allowed to buy it. About 60% of it quietly dies in there. Wealth track people don't have stronger willpower than you. They just put a speed bump between the urge and the checkout, because the urge rarely survives 3 days. Sign 6. They say no without a speech. No fake scheduling conflict. No, I'm so broke right now. Just, not this time, have fun. Watch for it at dinner. The person who can turn down a $200 weekend without performing an apology has a kind of self-permission most people never build. And that same calm shows up somewhere way more uncomfortable: how they talk about money out loud. Sign 7. Money is a normal topic for them. They'll ask what a job pays. They'll negotiate a bill in front of you without dying of embarrassment. Last spring, I finally copied this and called Xfinity. One awkward 20-minute call knocked $22 a month off my internet. That's $264 a year for being uncomfortable exactly once. Most people pay hundreds of dollars annually, specifically to avoid one weird phone call. Sign 8. You can't guess their income. Most people's spending is a press release. Every raise gets announced in leather or on a wrist or in a driveway. The future wealthy run no marketing department. A raise turns into a bigger 401k contribution, and the outside stays exactly the same. If you've known someone for 3 years and honestly can't tell whether they make 50 grand or 150, pay very close attention to that person, because camouflage like that isn't shyness. It's the surface of something deeper, and the deeper version is where I'm going to lose some of you. Sign 9. They're allergic to keeping up. And I'll plant a flag right here. If nobody in your life has ever called you cheap, I don't think you're on track. I mean that. Getting called cheap by broke people is a milestone. It means you've stopped renting their approval with money you needed for your future. Half of you just rolled your eyes. The other half know exactly which group chat I'm talking about. But everything so far is defense. Defense keeps money. It doesn't create it. The creation starts with sign 10. Sign 10. There's a quiet second engine. A certification in progress. Freelance work on Saturdays. A tiny online store. It's almost never announced, and it's almost embarrassing in size. $500 a month. Everybody shrugs at numbers like that. They shouldn't. $500 a month invested is just under $295,000 in 20 years, assuming roughly the market's historical average and, the real catch, that you actually leave it alone the whole time. Even half of that outcome changes a family. Marcus, for the record, had been doing weekend IT contracts since before I ever met him. An engine like that only matters, though, if its output doesn't get eaten alive by a busy life, which is what the last 2 ordinary signs protect. Sign 11. They buy time, not things. The same person who agonizes over a $6 fee will happily pay $60 to erase an afternoon of errands, because they've done the math on what their hour is worth when it's pointed at the second engine. Stuff depreciates the moment you buy it. A protected Saturday aimed at the right thing compounds. Sign 12. 5-year math. Before anything big, they ask where the decision puts them in 5 years, not how it feels this weekend. 5 years is the magic window for a reason, short enough to feel real, long enough for compounding in a new skill to actually show up on a screen. The question I now ask before every major purchase is simple. Is this a vote for the next 5 years, or a vote against them? But here's the honest part. 12 signs describe the person. They still don't explain the account. None of what I've listed is the thing that actually printed Marcus's number. The 13th thing did. Sign 13. They're not motivated. They're automated. For years, I assumed Marcus had monk-level discipline. Wrong. He told me on that last day that he'd made basically one financial decision back in 2009 and then let a robot repeat it for 14 years. Automatic transfer the morning after every paycheck straight into boring index funds. He never redecided.
He never once had to feel like investing because feelings were never part of the system.
That's the split I can't unsee anymore. Most people wait for motivation, and motivation is a battery. It drains. A system doesn't have a battery. The transfer happens when you're inspired, and it happens when you're exhausted, and it happens in the month you forget it exists at all. People headed for wealth don't win the daily fight with themselves. They cancel the fight. And that's how someone looks broke for 5 straight years and then, seemingly overnight, isn't. Nothing happened overnight. The machine was quietly lapping everyone the entire time. If you do one thing after this video, make it this. Set up one automatic transfer this week for the day after payday, even $50. Not because $50 matters, because the decision you only have to make once is the only kind that survives. I think about Marcus's last day a lot, because he didn't show me a flex, he showed me a receipt. $517,000, printed by one decision he made back when gas was cheap and everyone in that office, including me, was laughing at his car. 5 years from now, somebody in your life is going to quietly turn a phone screen toward you. The only real question is which side of that screen you're on. So count yourself. Out of the 13, how many are already you? Put your number in the comments. I'll go first. When I started, I had 2. Number 6, and on a good week, number 5. These days, I'm at 9, and honestly, number 3 still gets me every single September when the new iPhones drop. If you counted 4 or more, you're further along than you look, which is kind of the whole point.